Sonnets.
Sonnet.
Sun.
Sonnet!
Sonnets.
Sonnet.
Sonnet.
A sonnet is a lyric poem.
A sonnet is a poem composed of 14 lines written in iambic pentameter. There are two major types of sonnets, an Italian sonnet and an English or Shakespearean sonnet.
The English sonnet is written in 3 quatrains and a heroic couplet, with the rhyme scheme A-B, A-B, C-D, C-D, E-F, E-F, and G-G.
How sweet and lovely dost thou make this shame, which like a canker in the fragrant rose, thou spot the beauty of thy budding name. Oh, and what sweets dost thy sins enclose, that tongue that tells the story of thy days, making lascivious comments of thy sport, cannot depraise but in a kind of praise, naming thy name blesses an ill report. Oh, what a mansion have thou vices got, which of their habitation choose out thee, where beauty's veil doth cover every blot, and all things turn fair that eyes can see. Take here, dear heart, of this large privilege, the hardest knife ill-used doth lose his edge.
Many of Shakespeare's sonnets introduce the subject or pose a thought in the first 8 lines.
My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, then why her breasts are dun. If hair be wires, black wires grow on her head. I have seen roses damasked red and white, but no such roses I see in her cheeks. And in some perfumes there is more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music have a far more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground.
At the 9th line of many of his sonnets, Shakespeare will often introduce a turn, or perhaps a different way of looking at the subject. This turn can be noted by the use of words, like but or yet. This is also where the poet makes his case regarding the issue raised in the previous 8 lines.
Sometimes Shakespeare moves farther from the Italian structure, developing his theme with examples or reasons in each of the first 3 quatrains, and then presenting the turn or volta in the last 2 lines.
And yet by heaven, I think my love is rare, as any she belied with false compare.
The final couplet at the end is often an epigram. An epigram is defined as a concise, clever, sometimes paradoxical statement, and many of Shakespeare's couplets offer his explicit commentary on the first 12 lines. These couplets often contain the most powerful sentiments expressed in the poem.
An Italian sonnet is an octave followed by a sestet with a rhyme scheme A-B-B-A, A-B-B-A, C-D-E, C-D-E, or C-D-C, C-D-C, or C-D-E, D-C-E.
Much have I traveled in the realms of gold, and many goodly states and kingdoms seen. Round many western islands have I been, which bards in fealty to Apollo hold. Oft of one wide expanse had I been told, that deep-browed Homer ruled as his demesne. Yet did I never breathe its pure serene, till I heard Chapman speak out loud and bold. Then felt I, like some watcher of the skies, when a new planet swims into his ken, or like stout Cortez when, with eagle eyes, he stared at the Pacific, and all his men looked at each other with a wild surmise, silent upon a peak in Darien.
The Italian sonnet is composed of an octave and a sestet. The octave, the first 8 lines of the sonnet, is responsible for posing a problem, a reflection, a question, or a historical statement or context.
How soon hath time, the subtle thief of youth, stolen on his wing my 23 year. My hasting days fly on with full career. But my late spring no bud or blossom swooth, perhaps my semblance might deceive the truth, that I to manhood am arrived so near, and inward ripeness doth much less appear, that some more timely happy spirits induth.
The sestet, the final 6 lines of the sonnet, answers the question or helps to realize the vision, or solve the problem, if you will, posed in the octave.
Yet be it less or more, or soon or slow, it shall be still in strictness measure even, to the same lot however mean or high, toward which time leads me, and the will of heaven, all is, if I have grace to use it so, as ever in my great taskmaster's eye.
The Metonic sonnet is similar to the Petrarchan sonnet, but it does not divide its thoughts between the octave and the sestet. The sense or line thinking runs straight from the 8th to the 9th line. Also, Milton expands the sonnets repertoire to deal not only with love as the earlier sonnets did, but also to include politics, religion, and personal matters.
Most sonnets are written about love, beauty, anguish, and heartache.
Why sonnets? Why structure? Sonnets are mostly based on the subject of love. Sonnets don't necessarily have to be about love or another person, though. Sonnets could be about yourself or something that you love to do. Sonnets are a good way to get readers thinking. When the sonnet has an unexpected turn or features the poet looking at the subject in a new and interesting way, it turns that the 14-line box into a powerful mode of expression.
My love is as a fever, longing still for that which longer nurseth the disease, feeding on that which doth preserve the ill, the uncertain, sickly appetite to please. My reason, the physician to my love, angry that his prescriptions are not kept, have left me and I, desperate now approve. Desire is death, which physic did accept. Past cure I am, now reason is past care, and frantic mad with evermore unrest. My thoughts and my discourse as medmen's are, at random from the truth vainly expressed. For I have sworn thee fair and thought thee bright, who art as black as hell, as dark as night.
Iambic pentameter is a meter in poetry. It is a line with 5 iambs or metrical feet. Iambic means the stress is on the second syllable. An example is the word goodbye. Pentameter shows us that a line is 5 feet or clusters of 2 syllables adding up to 10 syllables a line. When iambic pentameter is read aloud, it would follow beats such as da-dum, da-dum.
Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love which alters when an alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, it is never fixed mark that looks on tempest and is never shaken. It is the start to every wandering bark whose worth's unknown, although its height be taken. Love's not time's full, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. If this be error and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved.
During Elizabethan times, the sonnet was often part of a sequence of love poems. Though many poems used conventional images and patterns in their sonnets, more talented writers added complexity and tension by going against the conventions of the sonnet. Going against convention could mean something as seemingly simple as where a poet might break a line. It could also mean writing about things not typically addressed by the typical sonnet.
I met a traveler from an antique land who said, 2 vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things. The hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear, My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away.
Figurative language and metaphor give depth and assignment to the English language. Without that, language would be boring. Imagine this. Replace he was a strong like an ox but a bull in a china shop. With he was 6'2" and with large muscles and could bench 300 pounds. He was also very clumsy. Suddenly, literature sounds like accounting. People say that they can't understand figurative language, but all it takes is a bit of breaking down. The tenor vehicle method is a good way to demystify figurative language. In this method, the tenor is what is being talked about, and the vehicle is how it is being talked about, so you can remember it.
Like as the waves make towards the pebbled shore, so do our minutes hasten to their end. Each changing place which goes before, in sequent toil all forwards do contend. Nativity once in the main of light, crawls to maturity, wherewith being crowned. Crooked ellipses gainst his glory fight, and time that gave doth now his gift confound. Time doth transfix the flourish set on youth, and delves the parallels in beauty's brow, feeds on the rarities of nature's truth, and nothing stands but for his scythe to mow. And yet in time's hope my verse shall stand, praising thy worth despite his cruel hand.
Figurative language is non-literal. It can mean language comparing one thing to something else. Figurative language goes beyond the literal meaning of words in order to provide a new effect or insights to an idea or a subject.
2 loves I have of comfort and despair, which like 2 spears do suggest me still. The better angel is a man right fair, the worser spirit a woman colored ill. To end me soon to hell, my female evil tempteth my better angel, from my side, and would corrupt my saint to be a devil, wooing his purity with her foul pride. And whether that my angel be turned fiend, suspect I may, but not directly tell, but being both from me, both to each friend, I guess one angel and another's hell, yet this shall I ne'er know, but live in doubt, till my bad angel fire my good one out.
Metaphor, a figure of speech in which an understood comparison is made between two things sometimes alike. A metaphor doesn't use the words like or as, unlike a simile. It summarizes an idea by associating the idea with something concrete that relates to one or more senses. There are two main parts of a metaphor. Tenor is the original subject or what's being discussed in the poem. Vehicle is what the subject is being compared to. A ground consists of the similarities between a tenor and vehicle. A tension consists of the dissimilarities between a tenor and the vehicle.
When my love swears that she is made of truth, I do believe her, though I know she lies, that she might think me some untutored youth, unlearned in the world's false subtleties, thus vainly thinking that she thinks me young, although she knows my days are past the best, simply I credit her false speaking tongue. On both sides, thus is simple truth suppressed, and wherefore she says she, not she, is unjust, and wherefore says not I, that I am old. Oh, love's best habit is in seeming trust, and age in love loves not to have years told. Therefore I lie with her, and she with me, and in our faults by lies we flattered be.
Shakespeare's sonnets form a 154 sonnet cycle.
Shakespeare's sonnets are often broken up into three distinct sections, volumes, or periods. The first of these sonnet volumes, sonnets 1 through 126, are often cited as Shakespeare's homage or addresses to the fair youth. These poems often discuss the passing of time, the desire to preserve beauty, and the wish of the poet to have his verse preserved for the ages. Shakespeare's second sonnet period is for his dark lady, and these sonnets 127 through 152, contain some overtly sexual themes and praise for his subject. In this sonnet cycle, Shakespeare sometimes seems to hate himself and despise the love he has for his dark lady. Interestingly, he occasionally refers to his lust or longing as something that causes his pain rather than alleviates his suffering. Sonnets 153 and 154 are adaptations of Greek poems and do not directly fall into the first two categories of Shakespeare's sonnets.
The last two sonnets in Shakespeare are also called the envoy. In these, Shakespeare makes manners quaint fun and distances us a little from the darkness we have endured by painting mythical figures in an ironically conventional style.
When, in disgrace with my fortune in men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state, and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries, look upon myself and curse my fate, wishing me like to one more rich in hope, featured like him that with friends possessed, desiring this man's art and that man's scope, with what I most enjoy, contented least. Yet in these thoughts, myself almost despising, happily I think on me, and then my state, like the blocked break of day arising from sullen earth, sings hymns at heaven's gate. For thy sweet love, remembered such wealth brings, and then I scorn to change my state with kings.
A sonnet cycle, also called a sonnet sequence, refers to a gathering or arrangement of sonnets by a single author, so the sonnets in that group or arrangement deal with a single theme, situation, or a particular lady, or a single narrative idea. Petrarch, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Spenser, and Shakespeare all engaged in this practice.
My letters, all dead paper, mute and white, and yet they seem alive and quivering against my tremulous hands, which loose the string and let them drop down on my knee tonight. This said, he wished to have me in his sight. Once as a friend, this fixed on a day in spring, to come, touch my hand, a simple thing, yet I wept for it. This, the paper's light, said, dear, I love thee, and sank and quailed, as if God's future thundered on the past. This said, I am thine, and so its ink has paled, with lying at my heart that beat too fast. And this, oh, love, thy words have ill availed, if what this said I dare repeat at last.
Shakespeare also spends many of the sonnets in his cycle addressing a rival poet.
Thine eyes I love, and they, as pitying me, knowing thy heart torments me with disdain, have put on black, and loving mourners be, looking with pretty ruth upon my pain. And truly not the morning sun of heaven better becomes the great cheeks of the east, nor the full star that ushers in the even, doth half that glory to the sober west. And those two morning eyes become thy face. O let it then as well beseem thy heart to mourn for me, since morning doth thee grace, and suit thy pity like in every part. Then will I swear beauty herself is black, and all that foul that thy complexion lack.
Sonnets are not only written by professional writers or famous authors. Anyone can engage in writing of sonnets. Here are some examples of sonnets by high school students.
My Persephone. It's been so long since this feeling I've known. I look into your eyes, the answers sought. That special kind of warmth felt to the bone. It is the kindness of happiness, not bought. A smile that will make you forget the world and all the people's sins that they commit. A lightness in your chest that is unfurled, that feeling that you almost won't admit. A locomotive, your words move me so. In perfect comfort, hear a gentle sigh. The way I feel, I doubt you'll ever know. A perfect portrait painted, you and I. But in a way, you're my Persephone, the inverse of all that I'm meant to be. The colder seasons. The leaves are falling from the mighty tree, and they drift on down to the autumn ground. The hues of them have changed so rapidly as the heavy winds blow them all around. Not only is the air getting thicker, the wind is starting to blow harder too. All the cold people begin to bicker and wish they had something warmer to do. Now it's colder as the snow starts to fall. The trees are bare and the ground is all white. Most people don't like this weather at all. Once it gets warmer, things will be all right. Scenery is nice during these seasons, but I don't like them for many reasons. My poetry is really not that good. I want it to be better, so I try. I really could be working, yes, I should, but poetry to me is very dry. As I continue to write down these lines, I could be wandering around the town, or walking through a verdant field of pines, but I am here, yet will not wear a frown. My teenage mind keeps wandering off task. The person next to me is saying rhymes. He is distracting me. Please stop, I ask. I keep thinking about the good old times. It isn't really him distracting me. It's hard for me to focus, as you see. She sits alone before the twilight sun. A tear falls down her cheek that no one sees. No longer can she wait, she has to run. With wind at her back, she runs toward the trees. It was her love. He was supposed to come. He never came, now all was lost to her. Now she could see, how could she be so dumb? Unlike hers, his love was not forever. Through all the tears, she sees the tallest tree. The timeless beauty helps her to forget. She lies to rest and lets her love go free. It is time for her to have no regret. No one ever said that love could be fair, but to not love would be the biggest scare. He had once ran for 20 miles straight and had been known to almost climb up trees. He was never tired at any rate, but things changed when he started to sneeze. His heroics were a thing of the past. I see something different in his eyes. It shows how much time had gone by so fast and makes me want to start saying goodbyes. Because I slowly start to see him die. The tumors are causing the deadly sneeze. I look at him and can't help wonder why. I did not know dogs get such a disease. He's suffering and I try to pretend this isn't the last mile to the end.
Sonnet. Sonnet.
Sonnet.
Sonnet.
Sonnet.
Sonnet.
Sonnet. Sonnet.
Sonnets. Sonnet.
Sonnets. Sonnets. Sonnets! Sonnets? Sonnets. Sonnet? Sonnets. Sonnets. I'm done. Take the camera away, Richard.